You want to try it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Hi everyone, it's Darian from MuchMusic, and today I'm here with Jess Moskaluke,
Hello.
Canadian country star. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for being here.
This is fun. Thanks for having me.
I'm not gonna lie, Life for Me has been stuck in my head all morning.
Oh,
it's
perfect.
so catchy. And for those of you that don't know, Life for Me is Jess's latest single. Maybe you don't know, but you should know. You should go listen to it because it's really good.
Thank you.
I saw you describe Life for Me as the cooler older sister to your other song, Map Dot, which they're both kind of songs about small town living, how it's for you, like your home, love letters to your hometown.
Totally.
What is it about your lifestyle or your hometown that keeps inspiring you to make music?
Well, I mean, the thing is that it's kind of all I know. Like, I never really lived in like a big city. It's just my experience, and so that's kind of what I tend to write about is just what I know and what I've lived. But I just love the people there. I love that when something good happens, the whole town celebrates. When something bad happens, the whole town rallies around the people or person that needs it, and I just think it's such a unique and special place to be. It's just so supportive, and yeah, I just really love it.
I love that. I've never been to Saskatchewan.
Oh,
but if I were to come, I want to come down. If I were to come visit for the weekend and you were my tour guide, what would we do?
Well, assuming that it's very seasonal, so these answers would be very different in the summer or the winter, but because we're approaching summer, I would say we would go probably quadding in the valley. That's like...
Should I know what quadding is?
Okay, so I think that's an American thing to not know and maybe a city thing.
Okay.
Like if I said four-wheeling, would that make a difference?
Yes.
Okay.
Like ATVing?
ATVing,
okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So we would say quadding in the valley. There's a lot of really beautiful trails out there. And maybe we would do like a dive bar.
Oh, I love that.
I think we would maybe do that. Have like a barbecue, just hang out. As much time outside as we can get is usually the best in the summer.
I'm coming to visit.
Come on down. Yeah, we'll get the quads ready.
So obviously you have a love for your hometown or small town life, but was there ever a time that you had to seriously consider moving to Nashville because of your career?
Yeah, and I didn't end up making the move, but definitely there was one specific time that my husband and I were like, okay, is this something worth doing? Is this, does it make sense for not only your music career, but just your life and your personal life in general? And we decided that no, that move didn't make sense. That's not to say that it doesn't make sense for other people and other artists, and I fully support that if that's what they need to do to chase their dream for them, that's amazing. But for me, it just always felt right to stay at home.
Yeah.
I can visit Nashville as much as I want, and I do, and I love it there.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Do you find it more difficult in your career as someone who has to live away from Nashville, or do you think that's kind of started to change?
I think that it's changing a little bit. There was definitely a time where people were like, yeah, well, no one's going to know who you are in Nashville if you don't live here. And I was like, that's weird, because when I go to Nashville, people often think I live there, or they don't, so I don't think it matters quite as much. There are pros and cons, though, for sure. Like when you live in Nashville, you can network a lot better because you can be out every night. You can be writing every day if you want. But the cons would be that I play 90% of my shows in Canada. So I'm just constantly flying to Canada. So I'm like, well, what's the difference?
Well, some more exciting news coming out. You have a new song coming May 2nd, I Ain't Country.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the title and the inspiration behind that song, because obviously you're a country artist releasing a song called I Ain't Country.
Yeah, I think that scares people a little bit. It's definitely a sarcastic title. The song was written because of all of those people that say that I'm not country. And I've always found that so interesting because I preach and, walk the walk when it comes to like small town living out in the country. We live on a farm outside of my small town. Not everybody does, and I think that's fine. I'm not dissing anybody that, lives in a city or, it's always interesting when I'm accused of like, oh, she's not really country, she's kind of pop country because there's no banjo out here. And I'm like, well, what about the 20 acres? What about the red barn that I'm staring at out my front window? Like, doesn't that count for something?
So you feel like people say that you're not country enough?
Probably less now, because I think those borders have widened a little bit when it comes to like the genre of country music themselves. But early on in my career, I was constantly getting that feedback and that pushback, and to the point where on my very first record we had to kind of like totally reproduce it from what I wanted it to be versus what country radio at the time here in Canada felt acceptable. So we had to redo a lot of those songs to put a fiddle or a banjo or something on them to be a little bit more widely accepted in the country music community. But I grew up listening to Shania Twain. Like, she's famously pop country, and so those are my influences, and they do come through in my music.
It's interesting because you've been kind of making pop country music for a while now, and now the genre has evolved to the point where country has so many subgenres and blending of pop, rock,
Totally.
hip hop. So what do you think of that?
I love it so much. Like, I think that it's so healthy. Artists are supposed to be creative. It is our job to come up with something from nothing and turn it into music. And it's so counterproductive to me to say this is what's country in this little box and anything outside of it is not welcome here. I think that country music is and should be very welcoming of subgenres and all types of people and artists. So I love that it's expanding.
Yeah.
And to me, country music is a lifestyle more than anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's so cool that there's so many different subgenres.
Are you ever like, guys, I literally was doing this.
Yes.
And now it's like the norm. Like, I've been doing this.
Yes. There is a little frustration there at times, but more than that, the feeling is overwhelmingly excitement that that now I also have that freedom to kind of step outside those boundaries a little bit more.
Speaking of pop country, Country Girls, Cheap Wine and Cigarettes, those became really big songs. When you were hearing them for the first time, did you know they were going to be hits?
I felt strongly about them. I knew that they were good songs, but I could have never imagined that they would have done what they did. Like, Cheap Wine and Cigarettes, I remember getting the mix back for the first time and sitting in my car. I was on my way to my mom's and I was like, oh cool, there's a new mix. I get to play it for my mom. And I remember pulling up to her farm and putting the car in park and finishing the song, listening to it, and just crying because I was like, oh my God, we finally got it. Like, we finally didn't put a fiddle on a song that didn't need it. You know, this felt so true to the music that I've been trying to make all along. So it felt really good to me in that way, but I could have never imagined that it or Country Girls would have done what they have done.
Such an amazing feeling. Did you ever have that feeling of knowing something was gonna get as big as it did with any other songs of yours?
No, never. I've never, even with the songs that did do, I've never felt, I guess I've felt a certain way about songs. Like, I've always felt strongly, but I've never been like, this one's gonna be a hit, this is gonna be a career song.
Do you ever have any of those like similar kind of gut feelings when you're performing live? Let's just say you're performing Country Girls and you're like, wait, this sounds really good right now.
Yeah.
The vocals are hitting.
Yeah. I mean, we just recently, we haven't had a ton of shows. This is kind of like our slower season when it comes to live music because we're about to ramp up for the summer and the fall. So we haven't had, from the time that Life for Me came out to now, we've only played it live once, maybe twice, as a full band. And so that, probably because it's new, probably because it just is a cool, vibey song, but like, it feels so good to play it live.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that one's kind of given me a gut feeling right now. It could just be because it's something new and fresh that we haven't played a ton of yet, but people seem to like it.
Are you ever talking to yourself in your head while you're performing live, or like saying little things to yourself?
I try not to say things in my head to myself because I feel like when I don't think about it is when it's the best. Like, I don't want to say that I go on autopilot because that's not true. Like, I'm very present and in the moment, but I think that like my singing has to go on autopilot so that I can physically be there and like seeing what the crowd is doing and being in it with them. If I think about what I'm singing, then I'm actually like less present with the audience.
I think you could think of it as like an alter ego going on stage.
Yeah.
Like, this is the performance side, and then like all the anxiety or like the thoughts can just be at bay.
I think so. I think it is true. It's really its own little world up there, and you really do, like, what you're going through in the day, whether it's great or terrible, you kind of do have to put it on the back burner. And these people like paid good money and have waited to come and see you perform, and I owe it to them to give like everything that I possibly can, regardless of what's going on in the day. So we might just have to name that alter ego.
Yeah, oh my gosh. And that alter ego will be coming out this fall because you're going on tour. How excited are you for that?
12 and a half out of 10 excited. Like, I'm so pumped. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't like a little nervous. This is the longest tour I have ever been a part of, let alone headlined. Just really praying that, and working hard at it, I should add, that my voice holds up, because it's a lot.
What do you do to kind of prepare for that stamina, like to build that stamina before tour?
Yeah, I work really closely with my vocal coach. We do our lessons on the treadmill.
A little Taylor Swift action.
Yeah, it's the best, because you can't really like replicate the adrenaline that you feel on stage when you're just like at home. So I try to, that's like the closest I can get to it.
Is it hard? Like, have you been you sound out of breath when you've been practicing?
Yeah, it's so
imagine.
hard. So I start doing like my lessons on the treadmill, which is not necessarily always singing. Like, you're just making like weird sounds sometimes and like practicing.
Wait, give me a sound.
Yeah. You want to try it? Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. The goal is to have your voice like placed in a certain way that's going to make it easier to sing.
Okay.
And my vocal coach always says that voice lessons and exercises are like going to the gym. You go to the gym because you want to look hot on the beach. Not because you're going to be doing squats and sit-ups on the beach, but because when you go to the beach, you just look good and feel good and are confident. So yeah, we do that on the treadmill. And then also I usually, once we have our set list, I take the first like 3-4 songs, because that's usually where I feel the most hyped up and nervous and like the most adrenaline. I take the first 3-4 songs and run while I'm singing them. And it's so hard and it never sounds good, but it's just like an overcorrection of what you're about to do.
That's crazy. I love to like get that insight.
Hopefully I don't meet anyone, because then I'm like, pause, this is so embarrassing.
No, they would probably like it.